So easy. Well, I showed up today for budget, and it wasn't today. 24 hours early. You still so crazy. It's just,
Just waiting on you. It does take a little bit to get it. Right, here we go. Okay, we are live here, Victor, so we're ready to go. We're ready, Victor.
Thank you. Call to order, let us rise. So our usual couple seconds, a couple minutes of silence and prayer, and then our meeting will start. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Noonan, if you're present, please say aye. Casey Noonan,
Here.
thank you. Yoder? Yoder?
Here. I'm here.
Yoder. Thank you. Black?
Here.
Thank you. Carlson?
here.
Hubble? Hotner?
Present.
McCullough?
Present.
Miller?
Here.
Thank you. Nixon?
Here.
Thank you. Winkelmann?
Present.
Thank you. We have quorum, and we're ready to start. The agenda is before us. Any changes to the agenda?
Just a reminder that we sent out an amended agenda.
Thank
So
you.
we have the Elmwood Township item, item as D, and then the other two items are renumbered E and F.
Thank you. There will be, the amended agenda has what you refer to Elmwood Township as item new business E, and the outreach goes on, CBA training, and goes on to others beyond that. Any other changes in the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the agenda as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I did not see any perceived conflict of interest, but I want to be sure that they all agree with the chair's interpretation. Or do you see a conflict of interest amongst these items? That item goes on record as no conflict of interest. They may be public on the line, so we'll hesitate for about 30 seconds or more to see if they want to give any comments. That feels like a very long 30 seconds. But there are no comments from the public, so we'll move on. Staff comments?
Just a reminder to those who are on Zoom, if you want to speak or you're voting, could you just raise your hand so that we make sure we get that noted in the minutes that how you're voting. And there's a little bit of a delay too, so that helps us if you can raise your hand. Wanted to let you know that the budget for 2021 has been submitted to the county board. We had a deadline they had to meet, which was prior to this meeting. And basically we held the numbers steady going into 2021. So the county board is going to be meeting on that, start their budget process. And then September 12th is household hazardous waste, electronics, and document shredding. That will be at Peshabi-town. And the following week, on September 19th, is tire collection, also at Peshabi-town.
Any questions for staff?
Victor, could I just add, I had an update for the ZBA training, but we actually have that down under new business item. And then, just so that you know, the Housing Action Committee will be presenting to the county board in August. 3 members will be presenting the checklist and a document regarding the role of government in housing.
Okay. Yeah. Members, please. Present. Thank you.
And Dan has joined us.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hubble is present, just a note. Thank you, Hubble. All right, moving right along. The minutes of June 23rd were before us, and we all possibly reviewed them. Any comments on the minutes? There being none, I'll invite a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes as written.
Is there a second to the motion? Did I hear a second? Any discussion? There being none, we're ready to vote. By de facto, it's unanimous because nobody's against it. Robert's rules adopted. Okay, thank you. And the next item on the agenda is new business. Capital plan, CIP plan. There were 2 applicants or nominations or whatever we call the entry point that we were asked to review to indicate our priority in comparison with the rest. I gave the priority to Trudy this morning. I apologize for my delay, but I'm sure you heard from everybody else already.
Yeah.
So at this time, if you can report what you find out on the 2 applications, and give us whether priority 1, 2, or 3, and we can then incorporate with the rest of the body and maybe just look at all this one ensemble.
Okay, the 2 projects that were emailed out to you were a Polycom system. Just so you know, this Polycom system that's being used here tonight is actually the property of the courts. And anytime it's being used for meetings, you have to get approval to use it through the courts. If they need it, they get first priority, so you can get bumped. And going forward, whether there's going to be more of this stay at home or meetings by Zoom and so forth, the county is now looking at possibly purchasing their own Polycom system to have here to use. And so that was submitted as one of the proposed projects, cost up to about $9,000. And then the other one was a new server of $20,000, and that came from our IT director. And I did get some responses back on the rankings, and after I went through those, the Polycom system ranked priority number 1, and the server ranked as a priority number 2. So if you are accepting of that, we would put that into the document. It would be on page 26 of the agenda packet. And then also on page 25. On the summary chart, and then the projected annual capital cost.
Thank you. At this time, we will accept a motion for accepting the outcome of the evaluation. Priority as a
I do have one suggestion with respect to,
motion. You made the motion?
no, I have.
Could you, could we please put it on the table?
Can I do the suggestion after the motion?
After the motion is seconded, the body owns it, then we can discuss it.
Did anybody make the motion yet?
No.
No.
All right, I move we accept the plan as presented with one suggestion I may want to make.
Our motion, that is in order.
Is that in order or not in order?
No, that we accept the plan with an amendment. I wish we come
It's a small amendment, it's a small detail.
Well, yes. Is there a second? The motion with the one amendment now is one motion. Either we pass it or deny it. We cannot extract the amendment out of it because it's just a whole thing just. So there's discussion on the motion.
My suggestion is that the table of contents, which is page 9 of 44 of the agenda packet, but would be one of, well, actually it would be prior to page 1 of 32 of the CIP, is that we have page numbers associated with each part of it. For example, someone might be very familiar with how the overview of the plan works, and they just might want to go to part 3, recommendations, capital improvements. And if you're on the computer, it's a lot easier to scroll if you know where you're scrolling to.
May I ask,
Yes.
Eric, are you saying on the page that says table of contents to put the page numbers next to those different sections?
Right, where what page it begins
Okay.
on.
Gotcha.
Just a minor suggestion.
I would consider that editorial. Am I correct, staff? Am I considering this editorial?
I think you should add that in if that's what you want to do, so we have direction.
Okay.
Yeah, I support that. I think that's a great idea. Anytime it makes it easy for us to navigate, or anybody reading this to navigate, I
Well,
agree with that.
Okay, if you accept the motion as it now stands, which includes the change, the motion was made, but could I have a second on the motion?
There was the support.
Any discussion? So the motion was made, discussion.
Make sure our.
Oh, sorry, discussion over there. No. Okay. They're being, now we're together, so we're voting with that approves the whole thing together with an amendment. Are we ready to vote?
I just noticed just a simple typo. Let me see what page this is, Trudy, it's about 25, on 25. You got, if you look at priority group and go down to, there's 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, and go over to project summary. So it's a communication tower in Glen Arbor. So it's a new tower.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just a W. It's little.
Thank you.
Again, I'm considering this editorial,
That was part of the
Okay.
motion.
so that can be incorporated on approval of the motion. Ready to vote?
So, question to Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
Would
Nixon?
would you restate the motion before we vote, please?
The motion was made with 2 changes. Could you tell us your change, please?
Right, we approved the CIP plan, but in the future add page numbers to the table of contents page, and Melinda had a change that she wanted.
In mine was simply a typo. I don't believe it needs to be part of the motion. As we find typos, they can just be
Okay,
corrected.
so basically,
Just yours.
it's to approve the plan, but in the future have page numbers for the various primary sections in the table of contents.
Okay, okay.
It feels like I'm rushing you. I am. Because we all had a chance to read this, and it's pretty good. Staff has done a tremendous job on it. And at this point, I think we're probably ready to vote. All those in favor indicate by raising your hand. Thank you. Unanimous. Our next item on the agenda is a postal plan for the general plan. And that was in pages 42 and 43 of our document. And you have seen the document at your place or someplace. It's an art piece of art, and it's very elegant. Thank you, staff, for I think Gail was the artist there. Thank you very much, Gail. Now, I believe in this will be passed by a motion to approve, and then we can discuss it.
I have a question in terms of who created this document. How could staff explain how the intent? Could staff inform us in terms of where and how this document would be used?
Staff, are you willing to answer that?
Sure. This is a document that we talked about years ago about doing. It's basically a quick summary of the general plan. And so you put in here, you know, the principal goal. We've got in here the 5 policy guidelines and some of the future land use maps, and then information on where they can go to get a complete copy of it to look at it. So it's easier to, you know, grasp this and take it and get a little feel for the general plan without having to read through the entire thing. Our goal is to get some of these printed, have them around the government center here for handouts. We can give some to the townships and villages to also have some handouts. And then like the Chamber of Commerce for people visiting the community and so forth.
What about the website?
Yeah, we can put it up on the website. I would suggest that we do each one of these as a separate page so it's a little easier to scroll through, because somebody looking at it in the layout that you have in your packet is not going to really understand that it gets folded up. So we would do each of these as a separate page, as just kind of a summary of the document.
Would it make sense to use this as an introductory document on the website before they get to the so-called meat and potatoes of the plan itself?
Yeah, it'll be up on the website kind of it, yes.
So it would precede the document that we already have there.
Yes.
Thank you. Let me start with our colleagues in the remote zone, to be sure I don't forget about you. I'd like just to go around the line there. Casey, Noonan, any comments on this?
No.
Nixon, do you want to comment on this?
I just found it pretty easy to read. I think it's reader friendly, I might say. Very good job.
Yoder, any comments on this?
No, but I'll just add to what Mr. Nixon had said there. I think it's a very attractive document, and I appreciate what staff did on it.
Thank you. Miller, any comments on this?
Well, I think it looks great, except I've got a question. The map 5, the future land use map, I don't know whether I'm looking at it on a monitor. And it actually, I wonder how it looks printed, because the contours actually look like the ridge that I live on is a valley, and all the high points look low. But I don't know, it's a function of the monitor, and it looks fine when it's printed.
Thank you. Staff, can you enlighten us on that?
Are you talking about map 5-2D?
Yes.
Yeah, that's actually kind of a 3-dimensional map that we've got.
Oh, I know, it's really cool, but it looks like valleys.
Yeah. Well, we can see if we can do something maybe with the coloring or something to kind of adjust that a little bit.
What did he say it looks like?
That the hills look like the valleys on this map.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
This map is done similar to topographical maps in the military.
Yeah.
And for those of us that have been in the military, it's very easy to read. But if you haven't, the only thing that would, it'd be too small is to give the lines of elevation, and you don't want to do that because it'd be too crowded on this map. Yeah, I mean, I understand what it's intended to do. I'm just wondering if when it's printed, if it's going to look somehow like valleys instead of ridges. Because believe me, I know how to read maps just fine.
Are these already finally printed mode? Can we make changes?
Yeah, we can make changes. We'll see what we can do.
So
with
let's take those two concerns that we just heard into consideration, and then we can see the response in act on it in the next meeting. Okay? Hubble? Do you want anything else?
Nothing to add. I would just pile on the kudos that my fellow commissioners have to the staff. Good job.
Thank you. McCullough, do you want to add anything else?
I think they did a great job.
Lautner, do you have any recommendations?
No, just one quick question out of curiosity. You've got a color for permanent pasture, but there's only just looks like a couple little permanent pastures. So how were those determined or come by? Is one the parks or, no, it's not park. It's like,
We pulled that from our land use maps. I'd have to go back to the original data on that map and see what it shows.
yeah, it's just, I've never heard of a permanent pasture, so I was just curious about it. I'll look into it.
You can't find any green on it except way to the far left
Yeah, there's
on the west over below.
a little bit
South of
below
Maple City and
Right.
Cedar.
Yeah, a little bit below Cedar, somewhere on that. But
Thank
that's
you.
not conservancy property.
I don't think so.
Huh.
Not
No,
here.
there's not enough. Conservancy's got a lot more than that.
Thank you.
You've
Were
got
you
some,
looking?
you've got green at Glen Arbor and at Empire and south of Cedar and south of Maple City. You got a little dot up by Northport too.
Maybe. Yeah,
Okay.
Glen Arbor makes no sense at all, as far as I'm concerned. There's no ag, so what's permanent pasture? But we'll find out. Not a biggie.
Carlson, anything you want to add?
No, thank
Winkleman?
you. I'm happy. It's a nice document.
Winkleman?
I think it's a good beginning. I would suggest that we approve it as it's presented now, giving staff a chance to maybe upgrade a few of the details later. We can re at that time.
You're always free to make a motion. At this time, I was going to suggest that we let this all settle and we come back with a revised version at the next meeting.
I mean, I agree with the others that this is a well-done,
Oh, yes, oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
and I think we should go ahead with it, but then knowing that there's some legitimate suggestions.
As I said, anybody is free to make a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would move that we accept the what's the name of it here, the Leelanau, the general plan folder in its entirety as it is, without modification.
The motion is in order. Is there a second?
I second that. I second it.
Could you, before we go, I wanted to honor Black. Did you have anything to add?
No, I like it.
So the motion is to accept it as it is and congratulate staff and thank them for their work. Any further discussion? Any comments from the rest of the team? There being no discussion, the motion is in order. We accept it as it is and thank staff for the effort. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I do have one additional suggestion because a lot of what I read in this document is sort of copacetic with the Leelanau Conservancy in the county. And I suggest that we send a copy of this to Mr. Tom Nelson, who is the operating executive director of Leelanau Conservancy, so he can see how we here at the county level are in a lot of areas in coordination with what the purposes of the Leelanau Conservancy is. I think it'd be a good way to communicate our commonality.
Let me take that as a suggestion to staff and let them decide what's the best route to do that.
We can share the document with anybody. It's a public document.
I think maybe what you're saying is, let's send it out to these people that are directly related and say, this is what we've done. Okay, now we, thank you, Winkleman for your effort. So this next item on the agenda, I'd like you to make the motion to start the ball rolling, to approve an amendment to the bylaws as written. The changes are following the structure that the Board of Commissioners had in their motion. So
They've already taken a position on it,
no,
and we've received a copy of it, and I think we should accept what they've done.
I'm asking you to make a motion to so do.
Well, I move that we accept input from the County Board of Commissioners with respect to the establishment of quorums both in presence and off-site, so that the business of this commission can go on.
Mr. Chairman,
This was not a suggestion from the Board County Board of Commissioners.
Correct.
This is a reflection and adaptation of the resolution to fit our context, but they did not propose this.
Mr. Chairman, is it up for discussion?
Yes. Wait, I want to be sure that we have a motion that we can all understand.
Could I, Mr.
Am I
Chairman?
interpreting that your motion is to approve the amendment
For bylaws.
to the bylaws? To bylaws changes essentially any words of commissioner when it refers to the board to member when it refers to us. And also any reference to the Board of Commissioners is not changed to us as a body. Two minor changes, otherwise it's a parallel wording.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, do you need any other explanation on this before we?
Yes, please do. We don't
Okay.
have a motion yet.
Just to clarify it, based on past meetings where this was discussed, I asked the county administrator about it and said, what could be put in the bylaws, how could we handle this? And he said, the county board has already put something in the bylaws which allows this to happen, where Zoom meetings can go on. Now, we're in a little bit different situation, but at any other time, they're allowed to participate in 2 meetings per year per individual. So the suggestion was to go look at what the county board already has in place. I took that, I removed the word commissioner and just referred to as members. Removed Board of Commissioners, referred to as Leelanau County Planning Commission. And otherwise, you have exactly what the county board has if you want to put this into your bylaws. And then I suggested that it be put in as section 4.2 and renumber the remaining sections. So you're just moving the other sections down.
Thank you. Wait 1 minute. May I ask, or Gail Miles, I'm sorry, if you have that, I have it in my PowerPoint, but I turned it off. Could you read us in total what the amendment, how the amendment will read?
It's on page 44 of the packet. Do you want it read?
Yes. Well,
Okay. So on section 4.2, off-site participation in meetings by commissioners. With advance notice of preferably 48 hours, members are allowed to participate in meetings via a Skype, FaceTime, Polycom technology. Participation is contingent upon an on-site quorum of the Leelanau County Planning Commission, availability of equipment, and requires that the meeting room be set up so that interaction among all commissioners is possible. Number 1 below that states, members participating in the meetings by Skype/Polycom/FaceTime shall be present at the beginning of the meeting and have the right to vote on any issue properly before the commission. Number 2, off-site participation in meetings is limited to 2 meetings per year for each individual member.
Mr. Chairman?
now, excuse me. I'd like to insert something to that, if I may, because I began the ball there. I'd asked Winkleman to make a motion because all this was his initiative, and I want to give him the credit for that. Would you like to make it a motion, or should we leave it?
He has a question, I'd like to hear.
No, I don't have a question. I was just going to move that we adopt it as read.
Yeah, no,
Okay, I'll second the motion as he just made it. That's great.
Okay. My apologies. All this was your initiative.
It's okay. It's gonna get done, that's the important thing.
Uh,
So I move that we adopt this as read.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I'll second.
Second, discussion on the motion as read.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Wait, I'll be there. Lautner.
Okay, just, I really like the way it read, but there's one last commissioner in the first paragraph of the section 42, interaction among all commissioners is possible. Should that be members? Sure. Okay. Because I really like the suggestion, Eric, where this came from, because there's been some confusion in the past.
Thank you. Nixon?
If I'm reading it correctly, point 2 is a little troubling to me. Does it suggest that any one of us can only do this twice a year?
That, could I respond to that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
That does not pertain to what is going on right now. We're in a little bit different situation. So this would be let's say we have nothing going on with coronavirus. This allows members to still participate through one of these methods. So say for whatever reason you can't get here in one evening, you could still participate from home, but you could only do that 2 times per year.
So
The current situation does not apply.
So the critical explanation is that this does not apply to pandemics or major emergencies, but for the conduct of ordinary business
Yes.
Okay.
under ordinary circumstances.
This two meeting rule was put in place in the very beginning of our dipping our toe into the idea of doing Zoom meetings. So we're like, we'll just only allow 2 a year, etc. Fast forward to now, if we are successful getting the technology and having it on hand, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if the Board of Commissioners increases that number to something higher than 2. And if that happens, the Planning Commission would follow, I would guess, and as would all boards and commissions.
Okay.
Just to follow up on my question, I'm wondering then, given those explanations, if under the current circumstances, we even need to have point 2, and that we would come back and redo our bylaws when we're out from underneath this pandemic. I think most of us believe this is probably the manner in which a number of public bodies are going to conduct their meetings for the next several months. And I'm just wondering if we even need that kind of point of instruction, since it doesn't apply unless we're out from underneath the pandemic.
You're speaking against the amendment?
I guess I am, yes.
Okay. Hubble?
I would echo what Mr. Nixon had said. I don't know that we need point 2 at all in there. Look, nobody is more of a Luddite than I am. Okay, I spread manure with horses, so I got the Luddite award here. But the reality is, this technology is what's going to be happening in the future. I mean, the fact that a Luddite like me is actually participating shows that it is user-friendly enough to start participating. I would agree that attending remotely removes the camaraderie that occurs with the face-to-face and attendance. But I think that until we get a handle on what is acceptable in this regard, which is really what the 2 meeting discussion is, that as Mr. Nixon said, we should just leave it alone, because frankly, we don't know how long this this virus pandemic is going to be going on.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I would agree that item 2 should be deleted at this point, and after we're past the COVID issue, then it can be visited. I'd also look at the fact that when we're talking about, we list Skype, FaceTime, Polycom technology, the words, here we are using Zoom, which is another brand, as like FaceTime is, and we're not mentioning it. So I think we probably need to add Zoom in there.
Thank you.
And then one other issue is we're talking about boards participating in the meeting shall, no, I'm sorry. Where does it say about the quorum now? I've lost it. Okay, yeah. Participants contingent upon an on-site quorum of the Leelanau County Planning. So are we saying that individuals that are participating by Zoom, they don't count as part of the quorum, so that if for some reason we were less than 50% there and 50% can by Zoom, we couldn't have a meeting? And if we're not part of a quorum, does our vote actually count? I mean, it's a parliamentary thing. I'm not sure that I know the answer to that. I'm just asking the question.
Any answers to that?
Vote.
Mr. Chairman, it's clear that the quorum is composed of the people that are on site at the meeting. But it's also clear to me that any person participating in the meeting that is a planning commissioner, their vote is counted even though it's on
Correct.
Zoom or another form of technology. That's how I read it. Well, and the reason I'm asking the question is I'm not sure that, and I'm not an attorney, I'm an architect, but I'm asking the question, would it, if it push came to shove and the vote that was close, would a court say, well, they weren't part of your quorum, their votes don't count? So I'm questioning how we define a quorum
That
and
almost
why
seems
we
like
would do that.
Carlson?
at the beginning, you were counted as present. You spelled present. So what is the definition of present in a meeting? Would it be different because you're remote or in person? You are counted as present.
All right, so are we part of the quorum?
I would say so, if you are counted as present.
Any further discussion? Winkelmann, then Lautner.
You guys are part of the meeting because of the special circumstances under which this nation and the world are operating. And this is a document that allows this to continue for the present time. And then if circumstances are such that you're unable to attend in person, you can attend 2 of these meetings subsequent to this. And if another emergency arrives, I'm sure that the county board will take it into account. And once again, you can attend remotely and be counted as if you were here. I think that's where we're headed with this.
Any further discussion?
If I may, I'm sorry. If we're not part of the quorum, if we're not counted as part of the quorum that's in attendance, what are you basing the majority vote to pass something? Those that are part of the quorum, or all of those that are checking in, whether it be remotely or present?
But you are part of the quorum.
It says
You
we're
are
not.
part of the quorum.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure if I could check on this, but I think the reason for the on-site quorum, from what my understanding is that if there is technical problems and we lose these members, if we don't have a quorum here and we've lost them, we can't continue the meeting because we don't have a quorum. And I think that is the reason why, in talking with our administrators, that's why that language is in there, so that you can continue the meeting with a quorum.
Thank you.
And I'd be welcome, I'd be glad to check on this further if there's, questions and you want some clarification before you actually act on this.
Well, Lautner?
I was just going to suggest that rather than pick this apart, if we're not ready to vote on it tonight, if you're not happy with it, have Trudy take it back to the administrator through our attorney. Our attorney helped us draft this language. And I kind of hesitate to stray away from the rules the Board of Commissioners had set into our own set of rules because they were based on some logic. So if we're not ready, table it, take it back. I don't have any problem with the second, with the number 2 there, because then it's in place when this all lifts. We're ready to go. We don't have to take a meeting to bring it. We don't have to revisit it. It's there and it's ready, and then it can be amended.
Any further comments? Let me sweep around.
Chairman.
again.
Mr.
Yoder,
Chairman.
any comments? Yoder,
Mr.
any
Chairman.
comments? Yeah, I'll be with you. Hubble, Yoder, Hubble, okay.
There's 2 problems with that. I don't have them, I don't have it right in front of me because I'm having trouble with my screen. But I don't see any language in that that actually implements it after the coronavirus. So if we pass it as it is, it's effective as it is. The other challenge that I see with the language as it's drafted is, let's just say the coronavirus gets worse. I'm not saying it will. I don't know. I hope not. But let's say we get a big spate of it in the next couple of months. So it's not possible for us to hold a in-person meeting with a quorum. If those of us on Zoom or whatever are not counted towards the quorum, we never can fix that problem. Because if we can't all meet as a quorum, we can't move forward at all. We're out of business. And I don't think that's the intent of this. I think it's a function of people's basic discomfort with the fact that we're attending meetings remotely. And as I said, I get that, but I think that I think we do need something to allow us to continue to go forward with the remote usage, unless there's already something in place that allows us to do that at the county level or the state level. I think there is something in this at the state level that allows us to participate by Zoom. So I don't know that I think that the thing candidly wasn't drafted with the thought of what happens if we can't get a physical quorum. If we can't get a physical quorum, we're out of business.
Thank you. I want to go around the circle there. Yoder, any comments?
I guess my understanding of the reason that they're allowing Zoom is through the executive order from the governor. So I guess that's my understanding as to why we're even allowing, remote access to a meeting based on that. Once that lifts, then I think a lot of these amendments to the bylaws would be taken into effect, from my understanding at least. So I guess for me personally, I understand where legal counsel came with this. I understand how they brought this forward, simply because it's in the county board bylaws. So I guess in those bylaws, I don't necessarily see it as addressing what we're going through right now, because the executive order that's in effect statewide for meetings like this kind of supersedes this. So I guess that's how I view it, unless I'm incorrect on that.
Thank you. Nixon, any comments?
I think just one in relationship to Judy's clarification about the perhaps reason why on-site quorum is there. I guess my opinion is if the Zoom goes down and there are only 3 of you sitting in the room, the meeting's done. Like any other circumstance. I think we're either better to say that all people on remote access are as much a part of the quorum as those who are choosing to sit in the room, regardless of whether we're under a pandemic or not. If we elect to go with Zoom being an alternative for conducting meetings, I'll be one of those that supports the fact that any of us that are not physically present are just as much a part of that meeting as those who are. And if the lines go down and we are the predominant numbers of members in attendance, the meeting is then done and we have to reschedule another meeting.
Thank you. Noonan, any comments?
No.
All okay?
No.
Okay. Okay, let's move around. Mel, any comments? McLaughlin, everybody's spoken. I'm at a bit of a loss. We have a motion that says that we approve, we accept what's there. So we have to vote on the motion, or do some other action that follows parliamentary
We
procedure.
modify the motion that we vote on this and send along our concerns back to our, Chet's position with the county executive for the county.
Administrator.
What? Administrator and the county board of commissioners, because we are appointees of the county board of commissioners. And so tentatively approve it now, providing them additional input that we just heard at this meeting about our concerns, and see if they also may share any of those concerns.
I want this to be clear, parliamentary. Can you guide me what you're trying to say? The motion is on the floor. You want to refer it for further discussion?
No, I would like to vote on the motion, but in addition to the motion, we've had some legitimate comments that were made, and those comments should go back to the county board of commissioners and to our county administrator for them to review to see if these are concerns that should be addressed.
Do you all understand the motion? Do I have a second?
Support.
Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Opposed? I'm voting opposed too. But the ayes
I
seem to
think
have
you're
it.
gonna need a roll call vote on this one. We didn't catch that.
The motion that we had is to approve it as it is.
I know, Mr. Chairman, it just, can we do a roll call so that we get it in here?
Thank you. We're getting a roll call. I apologize, you know, my vote before the vote was closed. I'm sorry. I don't ever want to do that.
Okay, maybe we should read the
Okay,
motion.
roll call. Let me see, roll call, no, Noonan. Yay or nay?
Yes. Yes.
Yoder,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Hubble,
Yes.
Lautner,
Yes.
McCulloch,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Nixon.
Would you restate that motion?
It's right in front of you, you can read it.
So
If it's the original motion, I'm voting no.
Same here. I'm gonna, that isn't what I understood we were voting on.
Maybe we should read the motion, yeah.
we're voting to approve the motion as it was printed.
And my vote is a no.
Passes, the instructions will be to refer this concern of all of the, I forget the words, to pass it on for review. It's a quagmire where
Mr.
anybody.
Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt. I know you're in the middle of the vote here, but even I'm confused. If you pass this, it's going into your bylaws. And then we're gonna send our concerns to the county board. Wouldn't you want to raise the questions first so that their attorney can respond before it goes into the bylaws?
I'm glad you asked that question because now it allows me to talk. It's premature. If we don't like what it is and assure ourselves, we should get our act together before we put it into the bylaws.
I agree. I think
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
So the only motion, if you're gonna go ahead with that, is to vote to postpone our vote until we did that. Make a motion for not amendment anymore because we already have the motion on the floor. But parliamentary, you can move to suspend or table or postpone until X, Y, Z.
I would make such a motion that,
Mr.
well, we haven't really finished voting on this motion, so we have to do that first.
No, you don't have to vote on the motion. A motion to refer is not discussable and it takes
We just
precedence.
passed a motion by majority, the motion passed.
No, well, I'm gonna withdraw my vote, my yes vote right now, because I thought I was voting on something different.
You clearly have a majority, Mr. Chairman. Clearly, a majority of people already passed this motion.
I accept your point of order. I apologize, the motion, so we are done.
Wait, can I make a subsequent motion? That the motion is just passed, be put into a state of suspended animation until we can get further input from our county administrator and the county board of commissioners. So tentatively, it's part of the bylaws, but until we hear from them, it doesn't become the permanent part of the bylaws. That way, we serve both masters.
I'm looking at staff. I'm sure that we could take this as an action item for staff to see if there's any problem with the motion we just approved.
The reason I interrupted earlier is because I thought the people that were on Zoom didn't hear the motion and weren't sure which way they were voting. That's why I stepped in and just made that comment. But Commissioner Lautner is correct. You were voting. We had enough that passed that motion.
You were correct.
I just want to point out a couple of things here just quickly. Most of these bylaw changes are cleaning up a lot. That's going to be good. Okay, now we're going to, it's going to be clear between commissioners and members. That's all very good. The question is the number of meetings we're going to be allowed to meet. I think that is not going to change or cannot change and exceed what the Board of Commissioners allow you to meet. So I think I'm confident that's going to be addressed as soon as this pandemic is over with. So Mr. Yoder is absolutely correct. This is set aside for now. We're acting under executive order, so we can meet like this. Trudy just touched on one of the biggest concerns with Skype meetings. That's confusion, disruption, and among other things. And this is a prime example. So, I don't know, it's just case in point. We don't even know, we here, I think we're very clear on what we were voting on, but Skype, some did not.
I appreciate very much. The motion has passed. Once the motion is approved, the only recourse is somebody that voted for it wants to move a recall. You can, but I don't encourage that. I'm just telling what the parliamentary doors will be. So, motion is passed, and the deed is done.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just a point of
Nixon?
clarification then. What has been passed was what was proposed in its totality.
With one minor correction.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
The question is, what's been passed?
He wants you to read what we just passed.
No, I don't want you to read it. I just want to be assured that what we did was approve the proposed changes to the bylaws that we were presented.
You're raising concerns, I appreciate that. Yeah. But parliamentarily, Lautner corrected me when I said they could be recalled. Parliamentary now, we've approved it, majority. If somebody that voted for it wants to bring it back up, they can. But otherwise, it is there. Okay, yes.
I just want to assure everyone that as the county board's representative, I will take this to the board. I'll take all of these concerns and all the comments as best I can remember how many use a minute to share with them that what the wishes of many of the commissioners are.
Well, I believe we'll have full record of that in the minutes too. If you want to get an advance draft of the minutes, you can give compensation to the preparer, or maybe get it earlier, but I don't suggest that. The compensation will be more than one dinner. Right, are we all together on that one? Sorry that I made a mistake, and thank you, Lautner, for correcting me. Elmwood Township has a proposed amendment. There's no representative from Elmwood Township here, so we don't have any speeches prior to it. We all saw it. It's a very simplistic amendment to the issue of the boat yard and all that, and the hotels and boat yards that we've been seeing before. So this time I'd like staff to give us a summary, and then if anybody disagrees or wants to add to that, you'll have a chance to do it.
Okay, we received this request on July 15th from the township. You have a 30-day time period to respond back to the township, which expires August 14th. And what they are doing is changing the uses that are allowed and some of the procedures in the neighborhood commercial. We've noted the intent on the first page here of their neighborhood commercial zoning district is to develop it as a seamless blend of commercial, public, and residential uses. And that zoning district uses shall be designed with pedestrian accessibility in mind to minimize auto dependency. And at a public hearing on May 19th, following that public hearing, the Township Planning Commission passed a motion to forward this on to their township board. So it comes to us first for the Planning Commission review, and then it will, of course, your action here will be sent on to the township board, so they have that as well. The next page, page 46 of your packet, goes through our analysis. We didn't find anything of concern there with regard to incompatible language or any problems with plans or ordinances. We did note at the bottom of that page what they are actually changing. They're changing number 56, kennels, from a site plan review with planning commission approval to a special use permit. Currently, those are also allowed as a special use permit in the ag residential district and by a site plan review in the neighborhood commercial and the general commercial districts. They've proposed removing number 68, seasonal indoor vehicle storage, and also removing number 75 in their list, vehicle service. We have noted that their zoning ordinance online on the county website shows that number 74 is vehicle service, not S75. And then again, the number 83, mini warehouse, they're making a reference change to that. And we've also noted that many warehousing in their online zoning ordinance version is number 82, not number 83. And then they're adding mini warehouse as item L. So just a couple minor changes there. And we've noted the numbering system. We think that there's maybe some numbers off, at least with their online version, so they should check that and just make sure they have their correct version there online. We didn't identify any major concerns with it, and that was it as far as our comments.
Thank you, Black. Any comments, questions? Winkleman, comments, questions? Carlson, Lautner, McCulloch, Hubble, any comments or questions? Hubble. I think we have to.
You're on mute, Dan.
Miller?
No comments.
Sorry, I had trouble with my mouse. I got no comments.
Miller, comments?
No comment.
Noonan, comments?
No.
Nixon, comments?
Comments.
Yoder, comments?
No comments.
Thank you, staff, for the great job. And the only observation I would make is to encourage whoever made the motion that the transfer for public hearing, it does not go to the township board, it comes to the county planning commission. There was one mistake there. And the other one, I was fascinated, this issue was very hot button. There was nobody present at the public hearing. So my question will be, was there an announcement to the 300 feet from the distance and by a certain date consummated, or was it not? the timing suggested they maybe went a little faster than maybe should have. But I'm pleased to see that they reached happiness and consensus within the township. So now we are ready for the normal motion that we make at this time, which is,
Pass the information on to the township.
thank you. Can you repeat the motion for the minutes?
Yeah, I move that we pass the information to the township with the comments by staff and any comments that we've made as members of the planning commission.
Support.
Been made and seconded. All those in favor, indicate by saying aye or raising your hands.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. We are now with our ZBA training session.
Okay, I wanted to update you that the training session, which was originally planned for the spring, was postponed. It's now on September 23rd, and it's going to be a webinar. We have a choice to do it from 6 to 8 p.m. at night or 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. In the past for these sessions, we've charged about $20 to $40 depending on the session, but we also provided food for individuals and there were handouts. Mary Riley's charge for this, which is her time preparing it and getting her session all ready, and then to conduct it for the 2 hours is $300. So I've got it on the agenda here tonight because I wanted to see, do you want to have a charge for this session, or do you want to do this one at no charge with the County Planning Commission, taking that out of our line item for training sessions for the community? The other option is that the MSU could charge at their end. If they did that, they would probably open it up wider to other communities. So right now, we're only planning on it being for those individuals in Leelanau County who want to participate. It will be a webinar. And then the question, I guess, to you is, since you're hosting it, is do you want to charge or just take this cost out of your budget this year?
So this will be taking the place of our usual planning seminar.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'm turning to Yoder to see where the education committee is in the process.
Is that a question to me?
The question is, where's the progress with it? Are you and the education committee looking at this and planning ahead?
Okay, so I guess I don't get the exact question that's being asked right now.
Mr. Chairman, the education committee has not met.
Okay.
The last time they met, we had the training session set. And that was all, that was all put together and we had information ready to go, but then the COVID-19 situation occurred and the presentation has gotten changed to a webinar. So we didn't call the education committee back together again. We're gonna do it as a webinar. And so I just want to confirm if you guys have a preference on time and what do you want to do with the actual cost?
Any comments?
Yeah,
Preference on time, 6 to 8 p.m. and what was the other time? Nixon?
Certainly the topic should have some appeal, but, and I'm not speaking against doing this whatsoever, but I'm just curious, given the nature of our environment right now, is there any possible way, Trudy, that a pre-enrollment or a sense of how many people might commit to a webinar, since it's such a dramatic different than what we normally conduct workshops to be, if we could get a feel for how many people might very well be in attendance, and certainly if there's not sufficient numbers to warrant, we don't hold it.
If I may answer to that, I've been in about 3 webinars from the MSUE in the last 2 months. And they accept enrollment half an hour before the webinar starts. So you don't have to know the number of people coming because it's just the internet. So I was thinking that on. Now, if you use something like Zoom, they may have a limit of those that can enroll. But all these webinars that I've seen will take, and I just did a series of 4, $25. They were horrible, but you could enroll just before it started. Because we don't know who is there until the clock starts and you see, oh, there's 57 people on internet. So by the time it's one element that we should be affecting, you will turn this, we're 6 to 8 p.m. or
5:30 to 7:30.
5:30 to 7:30. So all those that prefer the 6 p.m. over the 5:30 p.m. say aye. So we begin at 6 p.m. Right? Okay.
Ones who say aye,
No,
are you calling a vote?
No, I try to decide whether, yeah. We don't have to make a motion, we just have to recommend a time.
Mr.
So-
Chairman,
The 6 p.m. start or the 5:30 p.m. start? All those that prefer the 6 p.m. start, raise your hand. Raise your hand if you prefer the 6 p.m. start for the webinar. Or 5:30 p.m. Okay, we have 4 5:30 p.m.s, and we have how many 6 p.m.s? 3 6 p.m.s. Well, 5:30 seems to win. It's not a very drama-setting motion, so we thought we could do it by vote. And the other one to clarify was whether we should charge or whether we should broaden it. How was the other decision to be made?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
Yeah, we just indicated a preference for something starting
At 5:30.
at 5:30 p.m.
Right. Right now, this webinar is scheduled to be only for Leelanau County individuals, not opened up widely. And there is interest because we've had communities asking us for the ZBA training. So my other question to you was, does the $300 come out of your budget as a training expense for the community, or do you want to charge a fee? If there's a fee being charged, I don't want it running through us. I'd like it to just go straight through MSU. Let them do the charge.
Any discussion of that?
What's the date of this webinar again? What's the name?
On the agenda, September 23rd.
November?
September 23rd.
Question.
Any
This
preferences?
is a training session, is that correct?
Yes. Zoning Board of Appeals training session.
For the township and the township people, or for anybody in the county?
Well, no, we're going to send it out to the townships and villages. That's how it's going to be, sent around to individuals.
What kind of minimal attendance would you want for this to go on?
It's a webinar. I don't know that Mary's going to require any minimal attendance.
I don't know, I'm having second thoughts about it myself, but that's me. I'll just be quiet and let the rest of you decide on it.
Question.
Nixon?
This really for Trudy. $300, is that, have we got money in our workshop, our redevelopment funds or something that could cover the cost? Because if we do have that money in there, I would certainly speak in favor of using those funds.
Yes, there's money in your budget that can be used for the training.
Then I make a motion that we use the funds currently in our budget to host the webinar that'll begin at 5:30 p.m., right?
Is there a second?
I'll support that.
I hear a second. Any discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Thank you. It was unanimous. Anybody opposed?
I'm abstaining.
Anything? Okay.
What was that?
I'm abstaining.
You can't by bylaw, sorry.
Okay, then I'm opposed to this, and I'll explain why later rather than take the time now.
Okay, one vote, one no. The vote, the motion passes. Do we need any further decisions, staff, at this time?
Nope.
Thank you for all the spade work you've done. We appreciate that. And we're moving along. Outreach to township villages. Rapidly, I'd like to ask, remind me what are your townships? AC, you are, what's your township?
Empire Township. Things are pretty quiet there right at the moment. We have skipped a couple meetings here in the last few months. We did meet this month. Things are quiet. We did make a motion to go out and put on the ballot for this fall an increase to our fire millage. The current amount was not enough to cover the amount that was being billed to us from Glen Lake Fire Department. So we're asking for a millage increase. And that is really the most major thing going on right now.
I guess I misled you. At this time, I'm trying to see what township you're resident of, because we like to try to see if we can establish networking into the townships. So you is which township?
So,
Solon? Oh gosh, you guys are invading. Gail?
Sutton's Bay. Sutton's Bay.
Sutton's Bay, well, that's also yours, isn't it? You're Sutton's Bay too, aren't you? No, you're
Glen Arbor.
Glen Arbor. How about what's your township?
Centerville Township, the Planning Commission is working on a sewer inspection ordinance for point of sale. We basically copied others and are sending it to the township board.
Thank you. Melinda, what township is yours?
I live in Solon, but
Solon.
I live in Solon Township, but I'm county board, so that's why I'm here.
Okay. David?
Sutton's Bay Township.
Miller, what is your township?
Cleveland,
Sorry?
Cleveland. Cleveland Township.
Okay, thank you. And next one is Sutton Bay.
Right.
Okay, I have some homework to do. I was dreaming of trying to get more personal one-to-one contact with our township people. And for me, it's easy because I'm in Leelanau, so I can get in contact with the village and the township and just find out what do they want from the county planning commission. So as you digest that question, think about it and think what else can we do to have a relationship with our townships and cities, other than just when they happen to send us something to review. So we will put that on the agenda item for next meeting to revisit that question. What can we do to have more contact, touchy-feely stuff with our colleagues in townships and villages? And I see that we have a lot of Solon people, so some of you may have to compromise and move to another visit a little bit further away.
Well, we used to be structured based upon geography as opposed to disciplines.
Yeah.
But now we're structured based upon disciplines, so.
Okay.
That's probably part of the problem or the
At
challenge.
this time, we're up to the reports. Education Committee, any reports? They
I
have
have
not
a
able to meet.
suggestion.
They have not met because of the timing of things.
I have a suggestion that sometime in the future, bring up tourism. Now, why do I make this suggestion? Because I don't know about anybody else, but it seems like this county is doing very well in terms of the tourists coming here because of the COVID-19. People don't want to fly, people don't want to travel long distances. However, I anticipate within a year, there'll be a vaccine, and this will change, and we'll be back to more of a normal situation. Unless, of course, the Chinese have something else they're going to invade on us, I don't know. But there might be a hiatus with respect to people wanting to return to Leelanau County. And maybe this is a time, or sometime in the future, focus on tourism because it's one of the pillars of our economic well-being here in Leelanau County. I think now we're enjoying a hidden benefit of the COVID-19, but that benefit could go by the wayside once we go back to a more normal functioning America. And perhaps tourism is something we should be examining sometime in the future because that dynamic could change as well. Just a suggestion.
Thank you. Housing Action Committee, Lautner.
I have nothing to report. As Trudy said, that they're going to be presenting to the county board in August.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation, Noonan.
Not much to report. We did not meet this month. The remodel of the Grub Shack at Old Settlers Park is going to be taking place or getting started here in the next couple weeks. And still working on the Veronica Valley grant. That is really it.
Thank you. Any reports to visits to township village meetings or other meetings or trainings? Metal Block, anything else to report? Winkelmann, anything else to report? Lord Carlson, anything else to report? Lautner? McCulloch? Anything else to report from you gentlemen over there on visits with townships and villages or training sessions? Okay. Then we are communications.
There was some extra planning and zoning news that were set out on the table for you to pick up if you have not received those yet.
Thank you. No, Bob, oh, yes, I'm sorry. We will now hold for 30 seconds for public. If you have been listening to us and want to now call in for comments, this is when you can do it.
The number is 256-8109.
Thank you. Thank you. Staff comments?
Nothing further.
Commission and chairperson comments? Anybody wants to comment? Winkelmann.
As the transportation designee, a couple of things. Number one, they're still working on the Bohemian Road north of M22 down to Good Harbor Bay. It won't be done till the end of August. I learned something new. Maybe others have heard it, but nobody calls it the Good Harbor, well, nobody local calls it the Good Harbor Beach. It's called the Bohemian Beach. I just learned that this year, and I've been a resident of the county since '91, so there's always something new to learn. The other thing is that on the Transportation Committee, perhaps you folks saw the headline in last week's Enterprise regarding the County Road Commission. I don't know if it's imploded, but there's some things going on there. You may want to read the article. I don't want to make any editorial comments about what's going on there, but I think things have to still work themselves out. There's also an election coming up with respect to the people who are on the road commission, so that may solve some things. As to why there have been these sudden resignations, I could have asked, but it seems like these people don't want to tell anybody anything about what's going on, and I'm just going to let it come out. They are maintaining the roads, maybe not quite as good as they normally do. There does need to be some leadership at the County Road Commission. Hopefully it's going to work itself out soon, and I think we just have to be patient with it.
Any other commissioner comments? Okay, I want to thank you very much, primarily Lautner, for keeping me in line. Thank you. I claim to be a parliamentarian and really blew it there. And we have a great gang, but I must say, I feel that we've been very handicapped, that we cannot all be together at the same time in the same space. I've compromised, I'm not giving you guys enough attention, and sometimes I even forget that you're there. So it's a clumsy situation, but we're doing the best we can. Okay, we'll see you wherever, and enjoy the time. Meeting is closed.
I would just be interested in the input from our remote attendees as to how they feel about the experience versus being in person.
Being on a computer sucks. I'd be there tonight, but my wife and kids have a cough and the sniffles, so I did not want to be around people.
I would,